program, and I'm happy to be here with the one and only Natasha Pernica from the Food Pantries. Hi, Natasha. Thanks for being here.
Hey, I'm so glad to be on live with you. This is an exciting opportunity.
Yay, I'm so excited. I haven't seen you in a while, so we have a lot to catch up on. But first and foremost, tell us more about the Food Pantries and how you have gotten started and maybe some of the challenges that you're facing with, all the challenges that we're all facing with supply chain, inflation, and everything. But tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay, sure. So the Food Pantries for the Capital District is a coalition of 70 food pantries here in Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, and Schenectady counties. We've been around for a long time. Back in the 1970s, our organization was formed to help support the food pantries to make sure shelves are stocked, people have access to food. And it's been a crazy ride, like all of us have been experiencing. Last year in 2021, when there were all of these federal assistance programs, pantries actually saw a decrease in service in 2021. So rolling into 2022, since the federal assistance programs have ended, like the child tax credits, along with this crazy inflation that we're all having to deal with every time we fill up our car with gas or go to the grocery store, we are seeing a huge increase in community need, which, federal assistance works, right? Federal assistance goes away, pantry service goes up again. Unfortunately, the pantries are also struggling with the same thing that everybody is struggling with going to the grocery store. Food costs more. And I think a lot of people don't realize that pantries actually spend a lot of money on food. Most of the food they get has a cost associated with it. While their dollar goes a lot farther than you going to the grocery store, food prices are still up, as well as the supply chain issues causing not as much variety in the food pantries. So trying to get additional items so that consumers have a variety of choices of nutrition options. So some of the things we're dealing with as far as challenges is we just surveyed our coalition to say, like, we were hearing pantries service are up. About nearly 50% of our pantries who responded to our survey are saying that they're afraid that the money that they have in their food budgets is not going to last them until the end of 2022. So we're definitely trying to come up with a plan for how do we raise more money for the pantries to make sure that their shelves are full. And also just let the community know, like, again, food pantries are here. We're a resource. If you're having a hard time making ends meet, even if you have a job, a lot of people are working, but they're not making living wages. You are still eligible to go to a pantry. And thefoodpantries.org is our website. It has a map that shows where the pantries are listed in your own neighborhood, actually across New York State. But you can also call us at 518-458-1167 Monday through Friday, and our food access referral team can help you find assistance too.
Awesome. So you don't need to, how do you know if you're eligible to go shop at the food pantry?
Basically, you just have to express that you have a need. There's not a specific financial, like if signing up for SNAP or WIC or something like that. So basically, it's just you have a need and you're struggling to make ends meet, and this will help you get through.
Yeah, awesome. So are you also, who works? Is it volunteers that work at the food pantries or like in the actual pantries stocking the shelves and
yeah, there's about 50% of our food pantries are totally volunteer run. And then the other 50% might have a paid staff or paid staffing, but still utilize volunteers. The most volunteer need we have is like regular, consistent volunteers, like the people who come once a week or once a month, or like they're trained in their task. And so like pantries can always use people who we say able-bodied, which means you can lift heavy boxes, right?
Yeah. So like the threshold, like 24, 25 pounds. That's usually like if you can lift 25 pounds, you're in. We'll put you work.
Yeah, we need people who can lift. So
Yeah.
if you can lift, or you're great with people or good at organizing numbers, there's a lot of tasks. We can also help place people in volunteer roles in pantries. So reach out if you're interested in getting involved. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, how long have you been with the food pantries now?
So I've been here 10 years, coming up
Oh,
on
congrats.
11. Yeah.
You're
Um,
clearly passionate about it because you're still sticking with it.
Yeah, I really found my place. I feel like food and nutrition is so important in so many ways. It's social, it's cultural, it's your family. Our kids, I have 3 kids. They go to school, they're eating school lunch. Like food is the basic need. And I was shocked when I went through the interview process here over 10 years ago. I was shocked because I had come from youth development and homelessness and mental health. Like I have a background in a lot of different human service work. And when they shared that at the time it was almost 50,000 people here in our community utilizing services from food pantries, I was shocked at the numbers. And I still am, honestly. We're seeing like it's probably around 60,000 people this year here in our region. So I think the fact that so many people struggle with having enough food, we call it food insecurity, it really to me points to this being a systemic issue as opposed to like a character flaw or a failure. Like this is truly a systemic issue, which kind of leads into this historic White House conference that's happening
Yes.
this year.
Yeah. So tell us. I was totally about to ask you a million questions, but I want to make sure that people do know about the White House. But right before you make that point, I want to make the point that there's absolutely no shame in going grocery shopping at the food pantry. Honestly, it is like the really smart thing to do at this point because you are, saving money and you're helping, fill the need, right? That the food pantries are a necessary, infrastructure for our economy and will help us through this like difficult time. Like, they still can't, they still won't even come out and say that we're in a recession, but I'm pretty sure like by definition we are. And the other thing I wanted to point out that I don't think people realize is that you do a big marketing push and awareness during the holidays, and that's great and amazing for people to feel giving during that season, but you should think about the food pantries year round. And then there was another thing that I wanted to also point out that like you don't do you take donations into the food pantry for people, and what are some of the items that you do not need, right? Because I think a lot of times people drop off things that you do not need and then you're left with another big conundrum here.
Well, we do need lots of things. And I have to say that each pantry sometimes has specific needs. So if you're going to do a food drive or like a personal hygiene toiletries drive, and you want to work with like your neighborhood pantry, ask them first, like, what do you need? Because sometimes it ebbs and flows and changes what is available from the food bank. But what we don't need is when your grandparents pass away and they have like food from the 1980s and you just clean out the cupboard and drop us off. We don't need that.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's a big discussion about, soda and candy, and we don't get a lot of unhealthy food donations. Most of it is like basic staple food items. And like everybody deserves treats sometimes, but by and large, manufactured food and sugary food is more available to people who are living in food deserts, and it's cheaper food. So we prefer that if you are doing a food drive, getting items that are more expensive or harder for people to get access to, like the basics, whole grains, lean meats. And right now, actually, if you have a garden and you have way too much squash or whatever it is, pantries would be happy to take fresh produce. A lot of pantries do distribute fresh produce. They put it out on a table. People love to get the fresh produce. So
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, great. I'm glad we covered that. Now let's get into the White House event that's going to be in the fall, and I'm putting it out into the universe that you get to go because that would be awesome. Put it out there.
I would love to go. So this is a historic opportunity. It was in the late 1960s when there was a White House conference on hunger. In the 1960s, with the advocacy and education efforts, they implemented 1,800 policy recommendations, and nearly ended hunger by the 1970s. However, then we went through this whole decentralization of human services and public support system in the 80s. And here we are back with about 10% or more of our population not knowing if they're going to have enough food or not. So where we're at now, 2022, the White House and the administration is hosting a conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. And it's scheduled for September. However, they haven't released the official details yet, so we're still kind of waiting and wondering if it's going to get pushed back. However, the White House has given us across the nation opportunities to share lived experience and policy recommendations coming into the conference, and then they will be sharing their strategy based on the recommendations that they've received from the general population and organizations like ours. The food pantry is excited to be a part of it. We did submit our own policy recommendations, and over the years, people are always like, Natasha, how can we end hunger? How can you end hunger? How can the food pantries end hunger? And this is my always saying is, number one, living wages. Everybody needs living wages, number one. Number two, fully invested in federal nutrition assistance programs like SNAP, WIC, and universal free breakfast and lunch for all children in public schools. Charity is like the third level. Like, we have the most control over charity, but it has the least amount of impact, honestly, because it's a lot of work. It's basically like getting groceries and then redistributing it. If someone gets SNAP, that just comes to their card. They can go to a regular grocery store and buy what they want. It's a much more dignified and makes more sense because those dollars go into the economy too. So we are always pushing on living wages, federal, fully funded and invested federal assistance programs, along with increased access to federal assistance programs. Some of the other things that we talk about are, I'm just looking at my list here. The other thing that is a huge movement right now, it's not new, it's not a new concept, but there's a big movement right now to develop sustainable funding pathways through public health programs like Medicaid and Medicare, is the concept of food as medicine in the formal sense. So medically tailored prepared meals, medically tailored groceries, both of those are along with nutrition education. And for the most part, delivery services are important. We run a food as medicine network here in the capital region, and we've found that most people do have a need for the transportation, the delivery, either due to disability or transportation barriers. They don't have a vehicle and so on. So we're really excited. Really, I think the thing I'm most excited about is the potential for the food as medicine programming to move forward. But along with that, I'm really hoping for universal free breakfast and lunch in all schools, and hoping that access increases to SNAP and WIC, along with online purchasing power. We know our whole economy has shifted, right, to online purchasing and getting things delivered. When I was home with my kids with COVID back in May, grocery delivery services like got me through, right? How many of us are using that now? Well, transportation barriers are huge. So if all online grocery retailers accepted SNAP and WIC, and then there was a delivery service attached to that, imagine the dignity and choice and availability of product that people would have while using the federal assistance programs. So that's another thing that we're a real strong proponent of.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Posey had free lunch like last 2 years, and it just got taken away. So I had to like add some money into her little account and stuff, and it did make me think about that. I was literally doing it earlier today. Like, this is so unnecessary, you know? Like, we should all just have, all the kids in school should be fed. And I think to myself, like, yeah, what does happen? You apply, I guess, for a meal program in school, and if you qualify, you can get free meals, but then there's like a stigma to it. And, so I'm like, I think it would just be better for the kids emotionally just to, be all taken care of, right?
Yeah, I agree with you on that, because the universal takes away the stigma because everybody has access to it. And the other piece is then you have the entire community and the entire caregiver community caring about the quality of the food. So I think that I'm really hoping that we move in that direction, especially in areas where a significant number of kids are eligible anyway. It's still, you have to take that extra step of signing up for it. So yeah.
No, I mean, I think it's so that was like such a silver lining of COVID, is that we just didn't have to worry about that. Our kids were taken care of, and one less thing that I had to worry about. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is that food is medicine. I think even if it filtered through SNAP and WIC, you hear that stigma like, oh, I'm in the line at the grocery store and the person in front of me is buying nothing but junk food and nothing but really unnecessary things. And I think you can get in your head like, oh, they don't, this is being taken advantage of. But really it's the knowledge and the literacy thing, right? That we're not providing this community as a means to buy the right foods. And then even if you're buying the right foods, what do you do with it? I mean, I still have this challenge in myself when I'm at the grocery. I'm like, I'd love to buy all these healthy things, but putting it all together and making a meal for your family can be overwhelming, especially I'm not a single mom, so I just like one of these stigmas that I think it's important to discuss and talk about. And there was a wider range of literacy and knowledge and education around what to buy with these funds and what to do with it. And, so that everyone kind of advances, and we do change the world that way, right? So there's no more like, oh, they're buying a bunch of crap. It's like, no, they're buying healthy foods. They're, feeding their families. And right now I feel like we get a lot of they are buying what they think they need and what is also going to be shelf stable, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I think about I have 3 kids. I am solo parenting when they're with me, and a lot of times produce doesn't get eaten and I'm throwing it away. So if you don't have resources, you're not going to buy things that you're going to end up throwing away. The other thing too is SNAP is a supplemental program. It doesn't provide enough resources for all of your grocery needs. So if you don't have other resources and you're just relying on SNAP and a food pantry, you're going to buy cheap calories. And I know this. My lived experience is nothing compared to people who live this way all the time, but we took the SNAP challenge at work where we had to live off, like at the time we took it, the average SNAP was like $4.25 a day or something like that. So at work, we all took a week and we had different strategies. And I thought, I'm going to buy bulk things, healthy food, because people just need to learn how to do this. And I'm like, okay, I ate oatmeal. I had some bananas. I had like bean chili, and I had to buy cheap bread because I couldn't afford good bread, but I can't, I tried to eat balanced, and I got like bulk beans and bulk rice and stuff. But when I went, it was just a week. I didn't have enough calories. So I was hungry. And I felt defeated because I did my best with my knowledge of trying to eat healthy on a tight budget, and I didn't have enough food. So I was hungry all week. And I was like, if this is how I had to exist, I would make different choices. I would buy things that filled my tummy. And soda gives you energy, right? The caffeine and sugar. So you might feel like crap, but you're like, I'll get a little, this will get me through to work my second job or some. So I think the reality of making those decisions is a lot more complex than we really think about if we have to walk in someone's shoes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what a great exercise too. I feel like I need to get is there some like PDF that I can print out about that strategy? I want my kids and I to go through it. And I think it's really important for us to constantly talk about that, right? Like in order to change it, we have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's true. And the other thing, like with SNAP, is there's the double up food buck program with SNAP that like for example, in Albany, Honest Weight Food Co-op participates in. So if people go with their SNAP benefits, they get it like boosts their dollar amount. Where if they buy produce, they get double. They get like bonus money, so it like doubles whatever they spend on produce to help incentivize and provide more resources for buying fresh produce. So I'm really excited about the potential of programs like that. I mean, if you think about how SNAP started when it actually was called food stamps, it was really a more beneficial program to the individuals buying the food stamps and the farmers, because back then you would pay for your food stamps, but basically you were paying for discounted price food, and it was real food from farmers like milk and produce and eggs. So you would buy your food stamps, but then you'd turn it in for the food, so the farmer still got paid also, and you got the food at a much lower cost. I think that's a great way to go, because at this point, SNAP is you buy at the real, grocery store. So you can buy anything, but the manufacturing food industry is huge. And so a lot of the SNAP dollars now go towards manufactured food because it's cheaper, right?
And I mean, that's just not good for you, right? This, like, okay, well, that's a whole nother conversation.
I know.
Okay, so I have to, there's another, we're co-working, so there's another person taking a call in 4 minutes, but I wanted you to tell about this event you have coming up.
Oh yeah, sure. We're just working on it. So all I have is this like flyer, but
Harvest Evening.
Our Harvest Evening celebration is Thursday, October 13th, and we're doing it regular, like live, in person, regular Harvest Evening celebration. It's a chance for us to celebrate all the work that we've done and accomplished, and have a moment to recognize how much more we can all do by working together. If you want to go to Harvest Evening Celebration, you can find all the information on our website. We would love to have a big party this year because we're back in person, tastings from local chefs, and live music, and just really wonderful people.
And where is it located? Where's the event?
Franklin Plaza in Troy.
Okay. And this is October 13th?
Yep.
Awesome. So you're going to send us that information so we can put it in the Palette newsletter and get all of our community there to support you. Thank you so much for being here for it. Amazing work that you're doing. Anything that we can do, anytime you want to come on this program to get people more involved in what the Food Pantries has to offer our community, you just say the words.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you for this opportunity to share the work. Really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who does support the Food Pantries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks, Natasha. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.